Here we are at Thornbridge Hall up in Derbyshire, Ashford on the water, and this looks like a really interesting garden. Behind me we've got the orangery. I think the gardens were created in the 1890s at the end of the sort of Victorian period. So let's go and take a look and see what we can find in this really interesting garden. So here we are at Thornbridge Hall and we're looking at this beautiful lean-to conservatory. And the designers of this garden we're going to look at are Backhouse and Sons. So we're right about the 1890s where they created it, just turning into the sun there. And they certainly exploited the sides of the walls here. There's lots of espalier, and we're looking into a lovely little archway. And so we'll have a look at that in a minute into the vegetable garden. Certainly an interesting feature. There's quite a few busts sort of put around and heads planted up. So some interesting sculpture in the garden as we swing round. Got some nice little wigwam obelisks and archways. See the global artichokes there just being finished off, and the cordon apples on the wall. There's the odd bay tree, and of course a scarecrow just to keep all those crows out of the way and birds and pests, and some nice espalier on the far side, some quite old espalier there. Look at that, beautiful house too, little on the end there. We've moved from the kitchen garden and the orangery area into the scented terrace, so a lot of these plants will have a fragrance. We've got beautiful asagricium, quite a formal area but a bit of informal planting with archways. Another bust. We've got Lacesteria formosa in front of me. Just in behind that is a Magnolia stellata. Choice on the far side there. So selected shrubs, a bit unusual really. Bit of a mixture with the seat there with the box around it. So, you know, some interesting plants as we look around. Nice choices, sundance here, and then looking across to a whole range of shrubs really. Really nice bowers. We've got like an oak tree bench, oak leaf bench, and then we've got this beautiful bower and rose growing all the way over it, so that's quite a smart little feature in there. Paperbark maple, but of course box and choice here, and lots of roses, lots of plants here which have some oregano I can see. Really nice scent. So that's the whole idea of this garden. So we move on into the water garden, and at the bottom of this one we're going to see the grottos. There's some beautiful ferns, dry up for erythrosona, quite a few rhododendrons, so indicating probably the soil's acid. There's box, there's a really nice stepping stone here, so there's a bit of fun in this garden. There's some lovely big edging stones, just a lovely grit stone on the sides of this stream, and then the old yew trees here above our heads, very popular in Victorian England, but it was the 1890s when the gardens was right, you know, almost post-Victorian then. And we got these urns, a monkey puzzle, so it's got a very strong Victorian feel about it with the fastigiate yews, but beautiful place. As we make our way down to the grottos, there's some very interesting steps. You go down, and this beautiful curiosity created as you can turn sideways, either that way or that way, and round the corner with a surprise view. So I'm making my way down the steps, and let's see what we find at the bottom. This really is good because it just creates that whole kind of sense of curiosity, creates a sort of mood. And as we come round here, turning round, we come to this point, and really clever landscaping because we've got a surprise in the respect. We've got a really nice sort of niche here. This is really difficult to create. You might have really difficult to create that. You've got to create a hood and build over the top of it, and it's a beautiful piece of landscaping. It's a little bit Lutyens kind of in a way, but not quite as neat, but it's a little bit more rugged. And then with the wisteria growing up and over it, creates a fantastic feature. We've got a ginkgo here on the right, and we've got a sort of an Aurelia as well in here, so some really interesting trees. We've got the upright Irish yews there flanking it, and then we've got some beautiful sculptures there, some nice bird sculptures. Interesting about this Victorian garden is that you've got these lovely meandering paths creating some sense of mystery. We've got box, we've got bamboos, we've got sequoias, yew trees, as we make our way down this path, and hopefully we're going to be rewarded with something at the end of it. We've got past the skimmer. See out there, that looks unusual. I'm not quite sure what's going on over there. It looks like a variegated holly from here, so we're going to explore that. And there's a thatched building on the far side, so lots of interesting features in this garden. And here we go, here's the surprise. So we're coming along here, you've got this spouting water feature, and then of course we've got the old tufa grotto. Look at that, the grotto. This is an Neolithic limestone which they used to use a lot in Derbyshire. You see it at Stourhead and places like that, and you can kind of just stick it together with a little bit of mortar, build your framework, come over the top of that. I've done this a few times, and it create really interesting features, and with a seat in it and with ferns tumbling over the top, this is a nice piece of landscaping. And it's also been framed with 2 box, so very clever. A little bit shady, but be nice in the sun when it's really really hot. So that's one grotto. And then if you came down the steps, we could have come down, and at the bottom of the steps here we've got Gunner and Manicata, of course, as you can, surprises there, the big giant poor man's umbrella. But this moving of water is really good. Another Leicester, another kind of Victorian type of plant. Victorian with this sort of Lawson cypress, and a beautiful bark on the Lawson cypress, but it's really kind of dry, shaded areas. Notice how they've got euphorbia, mahonia, got euonymus on the far side there. And then over here, this is a bit unusual. We go down to the pool area, and looking down at the pool, some interesting feature there with the skeleton. It's a bit odd. That might be a bit more modern, I would think. And we swing round, and we've got this whole bank of hollies, variegated hollies. You know, it is a really strong Victorian kind of feel about it, with the ordinary holly as well. Again, incredible amount of shade on this garden. The beautiful cascade of water there, bouncing down that gritstone. Bridges, little bridges popped over, which is really clever. Really nice to see the water going 2 ways. Look at that. By having a piece there, that big rock sends it both ways, and you get cascade either side. Really big sort of wide bead there, created by that really mossy lump of gritstone. Really spreads it out. Got some stepping stones that are a bit more challenging. Let's have a look. Here we go. Oh, not too bad. Making our way up to this nice golden Irish yew, and we come up here, and again another sort of grotto, and these sort of little cave areas, or big cave areas. Goodness me, I mean, that is some formwork to create that. What about that for a vista? And it takes you right out into the Derbyshire hillside. It's a really clever piece of engineering. It reminds me of Paxton at Chatsworth with the Wellington Rock. It's on that sort of scale. I mean, look at that piece. I mean, it hasn't got, to be fair, there's not a lot of sort of overhang on the supports either side where you make the abutments, and wouldn't like that one to fall on me. So here we go, we're coming out of the tunnel now, and look at that amazing view of the hillside. Incredible. We look to the left, and there's an urn. You can see the sun shining through. And one of the things, if you create this sort of shady garden, when the sun does come through into the areas that are unshaded, it's quite surprising. And here, there's a lot of really nice craftsmanship. There's lots of special copings, slightly saddled, And then you go up, you've got your balustrading, and it's a really nice piece of landscaping around here. It's a little bit more modern at the top, but and then of course urns. I can see the remains there of Helichrysum, and just below that we're going to look at a very formal terrace, and then you can see the thatch on the far side, the thatch building. So looking down from the Italian terrace here with the balustrades, we've got a maple there, beautiful maple, and the urns. We look down on the Italian terrace, and it's classic really. This, when you think of a Roman garden with a topiary, and you've got the sort of upright trees, instead of Cupressus sempervirens, of course we've used, you know, upright yews, but you've got quite a few sculptures in there, and the urns again. So we'll go down and have a look at that in just a second. Some nice detail in the paving below. Look at that. That's sort of got that, those circular like quadrants all put together, all cut out of gritstone, or a millstone grit, which is local, and sort of typical Italianate type benches, quite ornate. Now onto the wedding lawns, and you get to see some of the architecture of the building here as well. Some nice portico there, and as we move around you can see there's a really nice bit of little bit of masonry there with the finials on top of that, and a really nice gateway taking you through. This has got a nice little terrace there. Look at that. That's excellent. And we're going to have a look at this little gate. To walk up to the gate, look at that gate. That is really exquisite. The sort of scrolling, the way they've done that, the way the above it, the way they've cut out the keystone, and it's all nicely shaped, all links up brilliantly, and the finials on top. It's really quite good, and then you can kind of look through to the front there. But very, very clever. Great big ball finials. And then another sort of kind of almost like the Ionic pillars there. You can see them scrolled at the top. There's Ionic pillars, and then a nice seat underneath it. Really good. Really sort of looking at the Italian terraces here, and look at that. Talk about borrowing from the landscape, and it's bigger than a ha-ha. We've got a set of steps going down, and we've got a big lake at the bottom, and you can really have got a lovely panoramic view there of the Derbyshire hillsides looking out towards Bakewell, and a nice Cedrus Atlantica glauca. Got a larch, we've got a beach in behind it, and it really is good. As we go down the steps, we'll have a look across and see how they've landscaped the sides here. Looks like they've used quite a lot of penstemon and gone for that kind of effect. Some really nice scrolls on the side of that set of steps as well. Done brilliantly in this garden. A nice, apart from this nice cornice I'm just walking underneath, they used the corners and created these incredible sort of gates with pillars. They've got this sort of almost like an eagle-like, I think it's an eagle, on the sides there, sort of eagerly gargoyle things, or could be almost griffin in a way. But look at the detail in this gate, it's really clever. Scrolls on the side, ball finials, really nice wrought ironwork, and just takes you to another area. Good focal point here, looking out on these steps. The impressive ha-ha. Look at that, looking back up the terrace to the house, and then from the ha-ha looking out on that panoramic view. And then even here off the ha-ha you got a little terrace. So what they've used here, they've used the golden yew, and this is actually a knot garden, and we've got the fastigiate golden yew, and then it terminates here into a summer house. So we'll have a look at the thatch summer. It's a really nice piece of thatching. Really done a good job of that, and you can see there they've got the little sways at the top and a little bit of hazel pinning it down. And always the tricky bit finishing a bit of thatch is how to finish the top, because it all comes to a point and you either have to truncate it, and here they've put a little finial on underneath this lovely beech tree. It's fair to say that the knot garden might be in need of a bit of a prune here, a bit of shearing back. It's interesting why they've left that long. They've got grasses steeper in the middle of it, so trying to create a feature. It's interesting the way that it's all grown. It seems to be quite oblique because it's followed the sun round, but all these sort of finials and that were apparently part of the family of the Marple family, and a lot of it came from Clumber Park, which is quite interesting. When Clumber Park had a fire, went and fetched a lot of the features here. Now we come to the really interesting bit. This is the Hobble Gobble Garden. Let's see what we got in here. We're in the Hobble Gobble Garden, and looks like we've got all sorts above our heads. We've got some suga, some hemlocks above our head, which is interesting. There's an old cherry tree here, but here we've got quite an interesting tree house. That looks fun. I'm not sure we're allowed up there, but that looks as though that's been a bit of fun in the past. Quite nice the way they've worked that around that beech tree, and where the Hobble Gobbles live, well, obviously somewhere in here. But quite interesting how, you know, these sort of areas of the garden with a number of trees linked together, hammocks swung, creates a brilliant adventure playground. We come to the bottom of the watercourse, and you've got that fantastic spillstone there in Gritstone cascading down, and it again reminds you of Chatsworth. It's like a smaller version of Wellington Rock coming down, and then we come through all the Carrick's pendula, the nodding sedge makes its way down, nice maples lining the route, and into here where we got aspleniums, and then it disappears. Just have a little see how, look at this little sort of race running through there. Sort of feel how warm the water is. Not bad actually, not bad. So we're coming into Beech Walk. There's another nice avenue of beech and some interesting sculptures or muses. I'm not sure the naming of these sculptures. There's a children's area up to the right with lots of willow work. Someone's been busy willow weaving. It's all ready for a prune. More Irish yews down to the left, but really nice when the sun's catching these beech. Not only the bark, actually saying that, there's a lime tree there, looking really good. And we're just coming up to the beehives, the apiary, and that's good. Be great for all the pollination. And we're just coming back to the orangery where we started, and another Cedrus atlantica. And so we're just about finished our tour, but the gardens are open. Certainly over Christmas there's a market as well. It's open every day of the year apparently, and fantastic garden. So that was Thornbridge Hall, and a really inspirational place. There's Italian terraces, we've got summer houses, a lot of Victorian influence with all the evergreens, but something interesting around every corner. So I want to come and have a look at Thornbridge Hall. They've got tours of the house, Christmas walks up until the 18th of December. They've got a market here, a really inspirational place, well worth a visit. See you next time.